Who is this? Marlon?
Morning, Cliff.
Oh,
Morning.
Mr. Morgan.
Let me say good morning to the
Good
NNM
morning.
family as well.
Yes, sir.
Cliff, there was a considerable disservice done to the public in the Senate on Friday, and I'm happy you avail yourself of Mr. Robinson, the contractor at the Prattville Primary School, and underscored or afforded him an opportunity to see what precisely the status is. There's an aspect of it, though, Cliff, that your exchange with Mr. Robinson did not cover, and that is
Uh-huh.
the minister gave a statement in the Senate on Friday where she, among other things, apprised the public as
Mm-hmm.
to some key developments in education, not least being the school nutrition policy, the national school nutrition policy. But when the matter of Prattville was raised by Mr. Bunting and the minister responded to him, standing by the contents of her statement,
Mm-hmm.
Bunting, using the platform of the Senate, he he quipped that the minister was being misled by the technocrats in the ministry. I think that was extremely unfortunate. That is beneath his office as a lawmaker in this country, because the minister in particular would have no interest, Cliff, in conveying information that was not verified by the technical team. Of course, as you'd appreciate, Prattville Primary is situated in South Manchester, where the regional office there would be Region 5.
Mm-hmm.
And so he charged essentially throwing the civil servants under the bus. And it's an aspect of this discussion that had to be brought to the fore. I am
Oh,
submitting this morning, Cliff, that Mr. Bunting ought to apologize forthwith. He misled the country, and indeed he sought to impugn, in my view, the civil servants who he intimated have effectively and invariably misled Minister Dana Morris Dixon. Nothing could be further from the truth, and it cannot be that this same civil service, because here in Jamaica, Cliff, we have but the one civil service. Were Mark Golding to be elected to office in this country, and were Peter Bunting, God forbid, yes, to be a minister again in this country, in such an administration, it is the same people he impugned on Friday and disparaged essentially that he would have charge over as member of that administration.
hold on for me, Mr. Senator Morgan. We're up on a break. There was a moment in the Senate last Friday when the Education Minister, Senator Dana Morris Dixon, rose to outline the developments at Prattville Primary in response to what Mr. Bunting claimed. That Mr. Bunting said she was being misled by the technocrats in her ministry?
That is correct, Cliff.
Oh?
And the minister stood, she reiterated, and that is why she went on in her comments, Cliff, to mention that she has a particular style as minister, and she has a particular approach where she doesn't seek to hide things or brush things under the carpet, as it were. She's forthright and candid with the people of Jamaica, and we can all appreciate that, because that's the Dana Morris Dixon we have come to know and essentially respect as a country. So in order to score the political points, he was charging that essentially works at Prattville were not being undertaken in a timely manner as they ought to, because government has not paid the contractor, and that was factually incorrect. There was no invoice or request for payment submitted by Mr. Robinson that had not been honored by the government. And the
Yes.
gentleman corroborated that in his conversation with you this morning, Cliff.
Yes, he did. He did.
And this matter of throwing the technical team, the very people who the PNP would be relying on, were they, God forbid, to form government, consequent on these elections that are coming up. It cannot be that you want to burn the entire thing down just to rule over the ashes. And it is in keeping with the practice that we're seeing emerging. It is in keeping with the lack of effort and research on their part that you yourself have charged, Cliff, that they're being intellectually lazy, just very superficial. In fact, Cliff, when Damian Crawford stood up to speak in the Senate on Friday, I had to quip from the backbenches in the Senate. Is this the official PNP position? And I had to ask that for good reason.
Yes. Yes.
Because as we know, these guys
They
are
keep
flip-floppers in
flip-flopping.
chief.
Yes.
They will come and say Damon Crawford will express one position, and then quick o'clock we hear Mark Golding come and saying something else, or Peter Bunting himself coming and saying something else. Because when Dana Morris Dixon opened debate on the Jamaica Teaching Council bill, Peter Bunting, and there's a clip of it going around in social media, essentially rose and endorsed the bill.
Mm-hmm.
But Damien, when he spoke as well, he addressed some issues, yes, he did, but in principle and substantially, he registered support for the bill. But when the weekend ensued, this happened the Friday, but over the course of 2 weekends ago, when Damien kind of realized that on the ground, rank and file teachers were, up in arms, a lot of the information deficit is in the space, and as such, people are running with all kinds of sensational aspects of the bill.
Yes.
And therefore, he found it convenient to come and convene a PNP press conference the Tuesday following the positions he took in the Senate on Friday. Consummate flip-floppers. Mark Golding, who urged Jamaica to move ahead with constitutional reform on the basis of the things on which we are agreed, is the same Mark Golding who came subsequent to that to tell the country that, listen, it is either we're going with the CCJ now or nothing at all. Flip-floppers, flip-floppers. And that is why the Constitutional Affairs Minister was able to play that tape in her sectoral debate contribution last Tuesday to highlight the flip-flopping nature of these people in the PNP and underscore why the Jamaican people.
But let me ask you something. I'm going
to
ask you a question, Senator Morgan, a question that was put to me this morning. Following the revelation of Mr. Robinson, the contractor on the works at Prattville, and Mr. Bunting's claims. Why do you think they're doing this? Why do you think they are flip-flopping all over the place? Why? What? Because it makes politically it is stupid. Why do you think? What explains it?
It's an excellent question, Cliff. And the simple answer is that we are in a politically charged environment, especially now. We're in the lead up. We're on the eve of general elections. And quite importantly, anything that the PNP conceives of and views as being having the potential to score them some political points or accrue to them political advantage, they're running with it. Even if it is that it is erroneous. You saw it with Ian Hales in Western Westmoreland, where he charged that black tanks were being issued to a particular person, when in fact that gentleman was an entrepreneur, a businessman who had bought his tanks for his car wash. They are unstudied, Cliff. The government is bringing in buses, and you have heard the transport minister having to lambaste a former general secretary of the PNP, one Colin Campbell, yes, who would be better served to come on a platform like this and have intellectual and sensible debates with me, as opposed to making a nuisance of himself across social media. So Colin Campbell and others would want to suggest essentially wrong and erroneous things about the school buses coming in, that they are broken down and they are back at the depot when nothing goes so, Cliff, nothing goes so. But the PNP is doing these things because they're trying to extract political mileage from every issue, and there is no issue that is off limits for them. And it
but the point I'm making, hold on, Senator Morgan, the point I'm making, they have been doing this for some time now. Yeah, this is not happening just recently, and it's clearly not working. So why continue to do it? Why not settle down, get your team of your spokesmen and women and your researchers to sit down, get your shadow cabinet to work, get your policy commissions to work, and think through carefully, backed by research, policy positions that you can take to the people. Because it does look, as you're saying, that they're just shooting in the dark and hoping that something will stick and being embarrassed week after week.
Absolutely.
It just doesn't make sense politically.
But you can appreciate in a sense what is happening. We have a country being led by Andrew Michael Holness at present, Cliff, and many of the deficits that we have had, a number of the long-standing issues that have been unresolved in this country are being effectively addressed by this government. For many years, including that accident with the Hampton girls this morning, we have heard of accidents involving children in rural communities, especially those Homewood students that, some years ago, Edwin Island students, you name it. And what we have seen is a government coming to bring rural transportation, a government bringing down crime. This morning, we started out this morning with this gentleman, Coleman, being a person of interest. I wouldn't even say a suspect, but a person of interest. And right now, consequent on the efforts of the JCF, Coleman is no longer with us. Yes? Because Coleman elected, as it were, not to see a judge, but he elected to go to a funeral home and meet his maker. So crime is coming down in the country, Cliff. A 38% reduction in crime. All of these things are happening in the country, and the PNP's hand is weak in terms of an intellectual engagement on the issues, an intellectual debate. You see it whenever they speak in the parliament, there's some wishy-washy positions. Julian Robinson came and spoke about school buses in March, when the Prime Minister spoke about school buses in November of 2024. You see the point? So their hand is so weak, which is why they have to be clutching at straws and trying for all kinds of desperate little shenanigans and dopey stories.
I hear you, Senator Morgan.
But Cliff, with the government will not be relenting. The Prime Minister has his foot on the gas pedal, and he's moving full speed ahead in delivering on the deliverables in terms of government.
When is he going to call the elections?
There's work yet to be done in the weeks and months ahead, Cliff.
Months?
I just said
we're at the middle of May. You're at the middle of May, so you have June, July, August.
Cliff, as a country will appreciate, the elections are constitutionally due in September. The focus of the government right now, you have 100 buses being boarded onto vessels, as it were, over in China to come into the country. There are
so the elections won't be before they come here?
No, man. I'm not saying that at all. The matter of the elections, Cliff, is solely and entirely the prerogative of one Andrew Michael Holness.
And the Constitution sets out
and we know
terms.
that it is constitutional due in September, with an outlier being down in December, if there were, any developments that would so necessitate that. But just to be very clear, the government has its hand on the wheels and is focusing on delivering in terms of spark roads. My brother Robert Morgan is working in earnest in relation to road infrastructure. Batista Moda is bringing water to communities. Darrell Vaz is outdoing himself as a minister, can I tell you, Cliff, in relation to every aspect of his portfolio, not least the transportation beat in his portfolio. And so the government is delivering for the people of Jamaica, and especially in relation to crime management, we're seeing the results. I did not conceive of a Jamaica, Cliff, where we could have had an almost 40% reduction in murders in any one year, as it were.
That's true. That is
runs
so
are
true.
being put on the board,
Yes.
and at that we are focused on. As Miss Kitty would say, Cliff, we now focus on no locus.
You're piling on the runs on the board.
That is it, Cliff. That is it.
Well, I can't fault that. Yeah, but we're sitting here and going on and asking when the damn thing is going to be called. Yeah.
You have to check the goodly Prime Minister for that, Cliff. Them something there above my pay grade.
But I suspect you're in the war room, sir.
Very much so.
Oh,
Very much so, Cliff. And we're keeping at it. On the ball as always, on the job all day, every day.
I say to my friends in the PNP, long time I warned them. You cannot continue to be lazy. You've got to do the hard work in opposition. Things and times have changed. You've got to earn it. You've got to tell the people of Jamaica why they should vote PNP. Not vote out Andrew, but why they should vote PNP. And they haven't done it. They haven't done the hard work. So there are no
the much talked about water from the Black River, for example. We are doing it.
Yeah,
the much talked about cold storage facilities, because every so often we see farmer having to use them cabbage and them tomato, which is rotting in the field as it were, take it to feed hog. We are implementing, we did it in Manchester the other day, and there are more cold storage facilities coming on stream to better protect our farmers and deliver for us as consumers as well. Because when you have stability in the supply side in terms of agricultural commodities, Cliff, it helps us as consumers when we go Coronation Market or elsewhere around the country. You don't hear that sweet pepper is $800 a pound and all the nonsense there.
All right, sir. Thank you, Mr.
All
Morgan.
the best, Cliff. Good.
Marlon Morgan is a senator, and he's also a member of the Jamaica Labour Party's Communications Task Force. That's it for the morning session. This